Okay, good
Blog
good
Talk
morning.
Radio.
All right, I'm still learning how to drive this ship. Okay, good morning. It's Tuesday, the last day of the year here in the United States. Of course, in other parts of the world, it's just the new year already. So, Happy New Year to people in other parts of the world. Actually, well, depending on what part of the world you're in, it's Happy New Year. So Happy New Year for those listeners. My name is L.A. Davis. The program that you're listening to is titled It's My House. We talk about various aspects of private property rights when it deals with real estate. And today our guest will be speaking on, our first guest will be speaking on mortgage fraud and which can lead to homelessness. And her name is Simca Huskick. Hopefully I pronounced the last name correctly. Anyway, Simca, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. First thing, thank you for agreeing to come on the program.
Sure, thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
Good. Now, could you, for the sake of our audience, because, we're starting out kind of new here on Blog Talk, could you explain who you are and what you do or how you help people?
Sure. I'm just a homeowner who were facing foreclosure and still facing foreclosure. Everything started back in 2009. And I was facing foreclosure because of Bank of America irregularities. As I labeled them at the time, I didn't know anything about actual fraud that have been perpetrated by these banks. So at the time, back in 2009, Obama administration came up with a HAMP program, which means to help homeowners who were facing different either financial issues or health issues that they, for some reason, they were not able to continue paying their mortgage. So this program was supposed to help people to modify mortgages. And at the time, we were, yep. Do you have a question or should I continue?
No. I just said, okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, okay. So at the time, we were current on our mortgage, and but our financial situation was changing. My husband's overtime hours were cut, and also I was changing jobs, and my salary supposed to be like lower. So I by the program's guidelines, we were a perfect fit to be approved. And at the time, I called Bank of America and I asked them specifically for this program. However, they were avoiding giving me documents to fill out for this program. They were pushing me towards something else, which at the time sounded really good. They told me that we can get approved for forbearance, which means for 6 months they will give us they will cut our mortgage payment in half, actually. We will still have the same interest rate, and our interest rate was fixed interest rate for 30 years. So we will keep the interest rate, and mortgage payments will be cut in half. And after 6 months, we actually received the complete agreement, which was like a few pages long, and in that agreement stated before 6 month period is up, we will receive another agreement to instruct us what to do. Are we going to continue with our previous original mortgage payments? Are we going to extend forbearance, or are we going to go actually to try to qualify for this HAMP program? And everything was perfect. We were approved. Our mortgage was cut in half, which was like more. We were happy with that. But then after when 5th month started counting down, we still didn't get anything from Bank of America. I started calling them, and every time I would call, I will get different answer. I remember first rep told me, you just continue whatever you're paying now. Just continue paying your forbearance payment until you get something in writing. I said, no, agreement doesn't say that. Agreement says that I have to have something after 6 months is up. It's not up to me to decide what to do. It's up to the bank to send new documents. And then one day I asked finally for supervisor. And I have all these names and dates and times when I call them. Supervisor told me, oh, no, you have to go back to your original payment if you don't receive anything from us. And again, I told her, it's not what our agreement states. There are like 6 different options, I think, in the agreement, and there is no option that I have to go back to the original payment unless I get that in writing from you. And then I realized something was really wrong, and then I started researching on the web to see what's going on with Bank of America, why it's really hard for me to get approved for hemp, because all I wanted was this Obama's administration program. Then I got in touch with so many people. I got online and I found blogs that were starting. Back then it was like 2010. Only a few people were talking about this because it's so confusing even for me now. So whatever I tell you today, I will tell you honestly what I think, but however it's best upon my knowledge. It doesn't mean because it is so confusing. That's why they were able to go so long and so deep with this fraud, because even for our judicial system, many judges still don't get it, what went wrong and why so many people have been foreclosed upon based on fraud. America is becoming homeless because these banks, they perpetrated fraud knowingly. This didn't happen by their mistakes. This didn't happen by the chance. They knew exactly what they were doing. So then when I started finding out more and more about how many people are complaining about Bank of America, I'm sorry, I have to back up a little bit. Then since I never got anything in writing after that 6 months, I continue in my 7th month and 8th month, I continue paying that lower forbearance payment. And then in my 8th month, I got foreclosure notice. Bank of America was foreclosing on me, telling me that because I was paying only half of the payment, it's not enough. I'm supposed to pay the full amount. And then I was like, because I didn't know anything about foreclosure, I had this sense that they will come tomorrow and evict me and my family from the house. I will never forget that night, staring at that letter from them and thinking I did nothing wrong. I kept calling you and you avoiding the answer, and now you're foreclosing on me. And then I got in touch, as I said. I started educating myself, and some of the people on this, it was like piggybankblog.com, which is still up and running. So that was in 2010. A lot of people, homeowners from all around the country, were coming to that blog, to the chat room, and trying to understand what's going on. And there was one lady who told me to send QWR requests. I never heard of that before, to the bank. And that is by the federal law, it is also called RESPA request. You send that request, notarized request, to the bank, and what they need to do by the federal law, they have to provide you with every transaction, every change, everything that occurred on your mortgage since origination. They have to provide you with the names. And I sent that request in December of 2010. They replied to me with only one page telling me that I don't have any authority to ask for it, which is not.
Oh, that's crazy.
Which is not okay. Which is not true, and that's also that reply from them is now one it's included in my case against them, and that's what they were doing to everybody, because they think and they knew that so few people actually understand the game. And we were taught from the young age that you have to pay your bills, you have to trust your bank. You have to do this in order to have your great credit history. You don't have to question because they're doing their job correctly. And even a lot, like when I was talking to people, a lot of their family members were actually blaming them for facing foreclosures, not knowing actually that like what's going on behind the scenes. So, and then I got in touch also on that blog. I found information and I found email for Brian Moynihan, and for his Brian Moynihan is CEO of Bank of America. So I started emailing his office, and I got in touch with somebody who got assigned to my case, and they were sensing that I'm fighting back, that I actually I'm ready to fight them, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. So they told me in order to get approved for that hemp modification, I need to go in default for 3 months.
Okay.
Because they told me if I'm not in default, I cannot get approved. And and that's actually what was happening to a lot of people. They were doing dual tracking. That's called dual tracking, and a lot of AGs, when they signed this national settlement agreement with the banks, one of the issues were dual tracking, which means like one office of the bank were actually working with you on modification, telling you to go in default to be approved, and then when you go in default, the other office will send you foreclosure notice and actually foreclose on you.
Man,
that's
you
what
gotta
learn.
You got to learn the rules on this stuff. I see. Well, for the people, all right, for people, to the people that will be listening to this broadcast now or on demand, first thing, give us a website in which they can go to. What website so they can start their education and get in contact with you.
To get it, I'm really afraid to tell people that they can get educated listening to my program. They can get
awareness. Let's put it that way.
Aware, to be aware, yes. And I would like them to. I would give them my Blog Talk Radio address. And when you go to the archives, every episode, I started my Blog Talk Radio program called Sank Alive Foreclosure for Survivors back in October 2012. And I have close to 80 episodes, and I have a couple of lawyers, foreclosure lawyers from all around the country. I have people who were foreclosed, who were evicted. I have people who are still in their homes. So there is a lot of information there if you listen to the archives that you can get aware of what's going on. But my advice is, because I have a lawyer right now, I'm still in my house. So the first step is to understand that something huge is going on, that you are not, most of the time, I'm not saying that there are not people who are trying to use the system, they stop paying their mortgage for some reason and they had money to pay on it. But for 99% of the people that I get in touch with are people that they're trying to stay in their homes, and they were pushed into foreclosure most of the time during their modification. I was not.
Right.
I was approved in January of 2011. Bank of America approved me for permanent modification. However, they lowered my payments only for $50. And they didn't want to get into account the new financial information that we had, that our financial information changed. They told me they don't want to review the paperwork, so they approved it based on the information they got at the beginning of the process. However, I refused to sign permanent modification because I told them, you never reply to my QWR request. How do I know that you actually own my mortgage? How do I know that I should pay my mortgage to you, not to somebody else?
Right.
And since then, I'm still in my house. They sold my mortgage already twice. Now my mortgage servicer is Ocwen. Ocwen also didn't reply to my lawyer with QWR. They reply with some one-pager, but it's not enough. So they still didn't complete foreclosure. I'm still in my home. It will be 3 years since I'm not paying. And the thing is, there are some people saying, like, you signed the agreement, you have to pay your mortgage. People are not refusing. People are not looking for a free home. We just want to know, because with this bank, what they did, they securitized our mortgages. They chopped all our mortgages. They put in the pools of 5,000 different mortgages. They misinterpreted the information about the quality of these mortgages to the investors. And all of this, like when people, for some reason, there are a lot of people that went with adjustable rate. And banks were telling them, like, you will have this rate, and rate will even go lower after 5 years. You will be fine, and your home price will increase, so you will have some equity. And they were also playing a lot with people whose English as second language. They don't understand the rules, and you believe your mortgage broker. And I had experience with that. One mortgage broker came to my home, trying to push me to leave my fixed rate and to go to adjustable rate, which I refused, because he couldn't explain to me why would I do that, and after 5 years of this rate, my payment will be higher than it is now with fixed rate. So I saw that something was wrong there. So they were playing all these games. However, and they took insurance. Banks took insurance on all these mortgages for which they knew that many of people won't be able to afford after a few years. So they took insurance. If you remember AIG was an insurance company. It went down in 2008, and we bailed them out. We bailed them out with our tax money. These banks were bailed out for gambling that they did with our country and with our people, and they are still foreclosing on us. But these mortgages were paid in full by the insurance. As soon as mortgage goes in default, they got the payment. However, because they didn't follow securitization rules, they didn't transfer all these mortgages and the notes into the trust because you have to transfer the notes 90 days after the origination. In most of the cases, the trusts are empty, but they were taking the fees, and they were avoiding IRS rules, because for real estate trusts, for REMIC trusts, you don't have to pay income tax when you put notes into the trust. However, they never did transfer notes into the trust. So there are so many, as I call this is a black hole, which is so deep. And it's hard for people to understand. And it's hard for people to actually realize that it's okay. I'm not advising anybody who is current on their mortgage to stop paying mortgage and start like going into this investigation. This is mostly for people who are facing foreclosure and they are afraid to stand up and try to stay in their home with asking these questions. So my Blog Talk Radio is www.blogtalkradio.com/SenkaLive, all one word. And then you can find all my archived episodes right there.
Great. So that's at least 80 episodes.
Around 80, I think close to 80.
Okay, and so people can start by that, begin to become aware, and then, of course, within those broadcasts, I'm sure you have other people and resources and links that they can go to educate themselves, because you're definitely going to need to get educated in this process, and particularly the people that, let's say everything is going well for you and your mortgage is current, you still need to become aware of this, because you never know what might happen tomorrow.
Exactly. And my advice, I can freely advise this for people who are current on their mortgage also. You have every right to send this QWR. Go online and Google QWR request, and you will see the information. You will have templates that you can print out and just put your information in the letter, like your mortgage number, your address, and you have every right to send QWR requests to your current servicer to ask them, provide me with every information in my mortgage since origination, which means they're supposed to have unbroken assignments, because when I say mortgage securitization, that means that they're selling these mortgages between each other. They're selling them on Wall Street. But all of these assignments, I hear from people that are being foreclosed on that when they go to their registry of deeds, they will see that a lot of services that are supposed to be on the assignments, that they are not there, but they are foreclosing on them. They are getting foreclosure letters from some servicers, some banks who are actually not in their mortgage documents, which is illegal. And I have my register of deeds right here in Massachusetts, Essex County, registered John O'Brien. He was one of the first register of deeds to stand up back in 2011 and to say something awful is going on, and he calls his office crime scene. And this is only one small registry, and this is happening all over the country in every register of deeds, because he found out he was pushed by two homeowners who told him, if you don't investigate this, we will sue your registry. So he hired an mortgage investigator, and she found out, I think that's over 83% of the mortgages that she investigated in his county were fraudulent.
You
I have
put
this
out
information.
Go ahead. I'm taking notes while you talk.
Yeah, this information is public. He wrote, after that, he wrote a letter to our AG, Martha Coakley. He got on the annual conference for all register of deeds in the country. He put a presentation telling them and begging them to do the same investigation. However, my suspicion is that these people are afraid to work on their own. As he's working, they were being told probably to sweep it under the rug, not to talk about this, because there are only 2 or 3 more registers in the country that they are actually raising their voice against us. So this fraud is so deep, and they using our government. I'm sorry to say this, but really they using our homeowners and American people as collateral damage for fraud that Wall Street perpetrated on us. And this is, I'm not sure where is this going. All branches of the government are involved with this. Judicial branch is, there are only some of judges that are finally now starting to listen to lawyers who are presenting the cases and talking about what's actually happening. I'm in touch with few lawyers in Florida whose cases are being dismissed. Hundreds of cases he was able to make judge to dismiss based on some, for example, missing assignments or some other issues that banks that judges are finally listening that banks did something wrong, because at the beginning the judge only question was, did you pay your mortgage? You did not. Okay, then you have to be foreclosed on. They didn't want to even open up the box to let you explain to them why you didn't pay your mortgage, or why you shouldn't pay the mortgage to somebody who probably don't own your mortgage.
Right.
So,
right. All things that people need to be aware of with this. Now, let me ask you this, because you have people that will listen to this broadcast and they feel the need to get legal advice from a lawyer. So what type of lawyers should they go to?
That's still the toughest question out there. I know a couple of lawyers around the country that are fighting this successfully. And when you say successfully, they're still building the case law because this is so new. There is no, because you can challenge these cases on so many different issues. And many of these lawyers will tell you that every case is different. So,
right.
You cannot go and hire foreclosure lawyer and he cannot go and look into the case law and say, okay, I will follow these cases and then I will win for sure. So these lawyers, you have to look for foreclosure fraud lawyers who are actually aware and educated on mortgage securitization fraud. That is
right.
that's the only way, the only path when you can hope for success. What's the success? When people ask me, for me, the perfect solution right now would be if we somehow could get our federal government to announce foreclosure moratorium in the whole country until this mess is cleaned up. That's the only thing, because our people are losing homes. Our people are losing homes every single day, fraudulently losing their homes.
Right.
Until that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until that happens, what's success? There are different happenings all around the country in regards to litigation. I'm hearing from lawyers, I'm hearing from homeowners. When you push the bank with a good lawyer, and there are some people who are fighting this pro se, which I would never advise because I would never be able to do this on my own. But I just want to mention that there are also people who are able to do this pro se, and they are still in their homes. So one of the solutions is your case to be dismissed. When your case is dismissed, there are two types of dismissals, based on prejudice, and that means that the bank can never go after you again, because can never file foreclosure with you again, which will mean that you get your house for free from that bank. They cannot go after you. But then again, it's my understanding that if that happens, if your case is dismissed with prejudice, only that bank can go after you. But when we educate ourselves on mortgage securitization, there are other banks in the future that they can come after you and say, you see, we bought your mortgage, now we also own your mortgage. So somebody else can go after you if this mess is not cleaned up. And there is another type of dismissals without prejudice, which means that your bank made some mistake and case has been dismissed based on that mistake. But if they clean up the paperwork, they can come after you again. And a lot of cases that dismissals that are happening now are without prejudice, which means that the same bank can come back and file another foreclosure and actually get eviction granted. And there are also a lot of cases that are being settled, which means banks, when they see that you're pushing forward and when they see the judge is listening, they don't want you to go into trial, especially in front of jury, because they know the jury, after they hear the evidence, there is no way the jury won't side with the homeowner. And so there are a lot of cases that are being settled out of the court and with, as we call it, gag order, which means people are offered settlements, but they also signed that they're not going to talk about the case at least for 3 years. So maybe by next year we will have some people that will be able to talk about settlements. I'm hearing sometimes 6-figure settlements, principal reduction, and all of this. However, as I said, I have a couple of names of the cases, but I can't talk about it because, as I said, they are under gag order and I don't want to mess up their case. But back in 2010, if I told you this, you will think that I'm crazy, because nobody could imagine that you can actually be a little homeowner and go after the biggest and the most strongest people on the planet Earth. But yes, we can, because we really did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong. We did everything correct, and we are collateral damage in this Ponzi scheme.
Right. Now, for the people listening, because just review what you're saying, for people who they might have a situation right now where they're facing foreclosure, or even if you're not in a situation where you're facing foreclosure, let's say you're all current at the moment, still the information that you're putting out, they need to become aware of. Number one, what I would suggest, besides listening to your on-demand broadcast, will be get a copy. Now, I know you already know this, but for the people that are listening to this, when you listen to this on demand, because people listen to these broadcasts whenever and wherever, get a copy of Black's Law Dictionary, which you might get a copy of that online now. And get a copy of that, because you threw out many legal terms, and you explained them well. But for people that didn't catch it, or if you want more information on what Spreaker has been talking about, get a copy of Black's Law Dictionary, and that's a good way to begin to educate yourself. And another good point that you brought up, Spreaker, is many lawyers, because my case is slightly different from yours, many people who, with this mortgage crisis going on, there are not a whole lot of lawyers that can really successfully defend you because they haven't been educated. So
exactly because these lawyers, when you say foreclosure, they still operate based on the a regular foreclosure practice that was happening before. They are trying to fight it based if you miss your payment, okay, let's talk with your bank, let's try to do modification. They don't even I'm not saying that these foreclosure fraud lawyers who are fighting this successfully are actually challenging mortgage securitization in front of the banks. However, in front of the judge, because it is a complicated issue. However, they do educate themselves on mortgage securitization fraud. They build the case, they review your case, they see all of these robo-signers. Robo-signers means that bank hired foreclosure mills firms that were signing documents, signing as somebody else, and they were signing thousands of documents per day in order to foreclose on your home. That is illegal, that is fraudulent. If I robo-signed one check, I will be in jail. But they're not in jail, as we all know. So when your lawyer builds your case based on robo-signing, broken chain of title, missing assignments, banks know that you are aware, you and your lawyer are aware of their deeper fraud. So, but if you have a lawyer who is going after them based on regular foreclosure, like it was happening, it won't help you as much, and there is a huge possibility that at the end you will pay your lawyer thousands of dollars and you will still lose your home. So in order to really challenge this, you have to interview your lawyer. You first have to educate yourself, at least a little bit. At least if you're not on Facebook, I will suggest you can email me. My email is foreclosurefraud12. Everything one word, foreclosurefraud12@gmail.com. Get in touch with me, and I will see if you are on Facebook. I can get you in contact with so many foreclosure fraud activists and so many groups on Facebook. We are exchanging information there. We are we have new people joining every single day, and they're reading, they're educating themselves. So in order to challenge your foreclosure, you have to educate yourself a little bit and then go and search for a lawyer who actually knows more than you know. Because when I was looking for a lawyer, I remember being on the phone with one guy for a half an hour, and I knew much more than he did about mortgage securitization. And I just said, thank you, but not thank you. I mean, I cannot know more than my lawyer. I need somebody who is actually know much more than I do. So that's
I know that feeling because I was going through that, and I've met people in the process of, I know of one lady, she's gone through 3 different attorneys, spent probably at least $15,000.
Yes.
But basically no results. So like you said, as homeowners or property owners, we're going to have to basically get ourselves educated as much as possible, and remember, it never stops.
Exactly.
Keep on networking. Then when you're interviewing lawyers, you can, well, like I said, you want to find somebody that knows more than you. And that's the trick, finding a lawyer that knows more than you, because most of the lawyers that I've come across and some other people, most, and then some of them, I mean, you got to get yourself, as you already know, educated on this, because it's just too many of them. Not all of them, but too many of them that'll take your money, and then, then they let you know they can't help you.
Yes, I just want to, if people go on my program page, blogtalkradio.com/thinkalive, and please look into archived episodes. You will see that is in the title or in the episode description. You will see name of a few lawyers from around the country, Rhode Island, Florida, and Washington State. Listen to them, listen to their interviews, and you will see what we are talking about. You will see what these lawyers are talking about and how they are approaching. I mean, they didn't talk about their strategies, of course, but we were talking about foreclosure fraud and how to challenge the bank's standing, how to challenge the standing. I will pay my mortgage, but you have to I'm asking judge to find me the real owner of my mortgage, because the real owner was paid a long time ago. When my mortgage went in default, they paid, the insurance probably paid for it, and then they were bailed out, claiming to our government that they will go down because people are not paying their mortgages. But they never told that they sold my mortgage God knows how many times, and every time they got money for my mortgage. One part of a partial owner of my mortgage is a French corporation.
Okay. Foreign investors.
They sold our mortgages all around the world. They sold it to foreign governments, to foreign corporations, and now this web is so deep, and it's so many different entities are involved in this, and I hate to see that the real victims are the American people who are losing their homes, and criminals who perpetrated this. It's not only that they were not stopped, but they are our judicial branch and our government executive branch are letting them continue to do what they're doing. And when you see all these settlements with different government agencies, all these settlements with the banks, all the time you will see investors. They damaged investors. They cheated on investors. And nobody is mentioning home. We are investors. We invested our lives in these homes. Nobody is mentioning us, like we are not important. If some homeowners got something from these settlements, it's like a few $100s, if anything. But this is the biggest injustice, I think, that happened to the people of this country. It's what's happening right now. And
right, I agree.
A lot of people, I just want to say, a lot of people, homeowners who were on my program, they were trying to work out the payment with the bank. But the bank, they don't care if you stay in your home or not, because they are getting money. They want your house, they want your title, they want the deed, so that they can sell it again.
Right.
So their interest is not to keep you in the house, because if they wanted to keep you in the house, there are a lot of people who can afford their payments, and they still got evicted.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Because we have a lot of homeowners from coast to coast in this country. What about and most of us do not know each other. not even in the same neighborhoods that we live in. So what about the idea of gaining, because, you know, all these lenders, banks, what have you, people who hold these mortgages, they're politically connected. Legislators, judges, what have you. What about the idea of homeowners getting together? I guess this would have to happen. Well, I guess it can happen on a local level as well as national level. Getting together and forming political action committees, PACs, so we can get legislation and rules and regulations that favor us. Because right now, to my knowledge, because I'm getting educated on this myself, to my knowledge, the typical homeowner has no political clout at all. Thus, we get taken advantage of.
Exactly. I agree with you, however, and I believe that in the future something like that will happen. But looking into atmosphere right now, people, you have to be so passionate about this. You have to be so mad in order to start fighting this foreclosure fraud and to stay in this fight. And the thing is that a lot of people are just so tired, and a lot of people feel helpless and hopeless. And I know that one lady in Florida, she was facing her foreclosure for years, and thank God her lawyer was able to dismiss her case a few weeks ago, so she feels a little of relief, even though she doesn't know what the next step will be from the bank. So she was trying to organize a meeting in her local library. She sent information on social media. She put up flyers around her town. Nobody showed up. So it's really hard to motivate people to get engaged. And in order to get politically engaged or to spend money, why banks are able to do this? Because they have money. They have endless sources of money. They are lobbying Congress. Every political office has been bought by the banks. I'm not saying that all of them are working by the banks, but they are contributing to all of their campaigns. So it is really hard for us without money to have a standing. It's like you can see mass media. You can see in mainstream media, you can see sometimes stories. We see stories about banks, fraud, and settlements, but again, mainstream media will talk about how investors are cheated. And only few stories you will see in mainstream media about homeowners. Why? Because they are controlled, too, by the big money. They don't want to push these stories out in the open because a lot of people will actually start to listen and get mad. So it's really hard to get connected and stay connected without money. How to do that, I don't know. I was hoping, when I started this, that I will see people on the streets. I was involved with Occupy Wall Street, and we were outside protesting, and we didn't have a lot of people coming out to join. And unless the general public realize this is not foreclosure fraud only, don't think that if you're not facing foreclosure, you are all set. This fraud has been, I uncovered this during foreclosure, and a lot of people, like my register of deeds, he will never uncover this fraud if people who were facing foreclosure didn't go to him, pushing him to do investigation. So this fraud was uncovered during foreclosures, but this is not about foreclosure. This is about our city budgets, our police budgets, your pension plans. Your pension plans, 401k, are heavily invested in mortgage-backed securities, and trusts are empty. There are no money there, and banks knew that. Our our judges' pensions are also invested in this. That's why you don't see outcry from the judges. They know that everything is so heavily connected with this fraud, and they let it run for so long. Now they, as I said, they're using us as collateral damage, thinking that this will just go away. and that people will stop talking about this. But that is not happening. I see people who lost their homes, who were evicted. They are still fighting. They're still talking about this. Something needs to be done.
Boy, you really educate me on this. I'm taking notes while you talk.
Okay.
I'm taking notes while you talk. All right. So, well, what, I'm putting it out in the universe because this country has over 300 million people. I had to find out how many people are homeowners, and then I'll find out the statistics on how many of us are in this crisis right now. Because something's, like I say, from what I discovered, if we got together and, well, you know what, things have started because you had your show, I listened to your show, now we're connected, so I don't know how it's going to work out, but something's got to be done where we can get some political clout, because like you said, basically it comes down to money. And the banks in corporate America, they've got money. However, the typical homeowner doesn't know somebody else in the same position. At first, they feel all alone, and, they can't even think straight. So people that listen to this broadcast, particularly because most people listen to this on demand, listen to her program, and she's got, quite a few of them that you can listen to on demand, become aware, get yourself educated, get a copy of Black's Dictionary. Apparently you need to learn the system, learn how foreclosures happen, learn the different type of foreclosures. Read the documents that because like she said, a lot of case law has not been developed on this yet. I guess it's in the making, and it's not even on the books. So, and then, and one of the primary reasons why a person needs to become continually educated on this, because you need to be able to spot out real quickly if you know more about this than any lawyer that you might talk to, if you need to get one. And because too many people just hire a lawyer, carte blanche, and they don't even question the lawyer. They don't even know how much a lawyer knows. They just, here's the $5,000 or $10,000, and then they expect to be bailed out and they lose.
Yes, because we all have our specialties in life. Like, I'm doing my job. I'm not trying to learn at this age any other job. So it was like you were always taught to pay your bills on time. You were always thinking, like, if I get in any trouble with the law, I will find a lawyer, and a lawyer will know what to do. That's why it was really, for many people, it was frightening to even think about not paying the mortgage or sending up to the banks. But I was so mad at Bank of America what they were trying to do to me. They didn't follow the law. They didn't send me the new agreement, and they were trying to foreclose on me, blaming me. And here, their rep told me on the phone to continue paying that payment. And when I continue doing that, they tried to foreclose on me, blaming me for the mistake. That's how I got mad. I wasn't afraid. I was so mad. And I said, I will get to the bottom of this. That's why we need to be mad. Don't be afraid.
Right. Well, I'm glad you got mad. Yeah, I'm glad you got mad, and I'm glad you also got educated, because and you already know this, but for the people that are listening to this broadcast and will listen to yours, Senka, when you start to educate yourself, if you are afraid, if there is fear, that fear will start to melt away. So that's why educating yourself is so vitally important. Because once you become aware and keep yourself educated, then you see, okay, here's how the landscape is, and here's some strategies that I can use to help my situation out. So, that's what I got from it. So I'm glad you got mad and got aware. And
yes. And I just want to mention when people go on my programs page, also it would be great if you listen. There are 2 interviews with attorney Robert Janes, Janes. You can go on also. Please Google him online. He has 2 books, and one of them is, I read it, the complete book, Fighting Foreclosure Machine. It's unbelievable. He got out of retirement to fight this, to educate people on this, and he explained this fraud in such a simple terms for me now, because I have basic education before I came up to his book. But it's really, I think, even for the beginners, it will be good to listen to the program, 2 programs with him, and then if you can go on his website, you can purchase the book, or if I'm not sure how much is this. It's not too expensive, but if you don't have money, you can educate yourself reading his website. And to do this just in order to prove yourself that you're not crazy. Yes, fraud has been committed. There are people who are lawyers, people who, even judges. There are some judges who are getting out, like one judge from New York, who is challenging the banks. Prove to me that you have the standing to foreclose on this home. And
right.
So now you're not crazy. You are not a criminal if you're asking your bank to prove that they are the owner. You have every right to do so.
Right. Great. All right, so we've got about 9 more minutes left with you on the air. Now, doing a wrap-up, what are some simple steps that people can start to take to avoid foreclosure, or at least start the fight?
If you, I will give you, for example, here is a nice blog, and they started this, I think, back in 2004, one of the first ones out there on foreclosure fraud, www.msfraud.org, MS as a Sam, fraud, all one word, .org. On this blog, you will see a lot of information. You have articles, you have videos, you have law library, which is so important. You have government, you have how to file complaints, you have questions and answers. Everything that you need to know how to approach your foreclosure, you can find it right there. And then
okay, great.
My advice, again, would be if you receive foreclosure notice, find a lawyer as soon as possible, because they will foreclose on you very quickly if you don't. Even if you have a lawyer, there are no guarantees. I cannot tell you, go to this lawyer, you will save your home. There are no guarantees, because this fraud is so complex that there are really no guarantees in this. However, I see for the last couple of years, I have been following these happenings in the foreclosure fraud field, and I see something that I didn't see in 2010 or 2011. A lot of cases are being settled and a lot of cases being dismissed, or a lot of cases are being stuck in litigation for years now, which means they cannot foreclose. That they are dragging, banks, lawyers are dragging, asking for postponing the trial or something, which means that they cannot foreclose. So it's okay to challenge, but you need a lawyer. I think that you need a lawyer. I say there are a couple of proceeds who are still fighting. I mentally and emotionally and legally, I would never be able to do that on my own. And also, I can be an example. I didn't pay since January 2011. I'm challenging them. I'm challenging the standing to foreclose. They still didn't prove who owns my mortgage. It doesn't mean that they won't foreclose on me in January. But then even if they foreclose, then we will sue them for wrongful foreclosure. So I'm begging them to foreclose, but they don't want yet. So
now, do you find a lot of people that might be in this situation, they're representing themselves pro se?
I did have a couple. I have one woman who represented herself pro se, and her case was dismissed in last January. But then after 6 months, the same bank refiled the paperwork, and she got evicted from her home. I know I know a couple of other prostates who are still fighting. They are still in their homes after a few years of litigation. They are successfully fighting. However, even if you're not pro se, even if you have a lawyer, this is almost 24/7 job because you get so involved in this. You are constantly in touch with people who are in this fight. So if you're doing this pro se, you almost don't have time for anything else. And it's not only about timing. You really need to know the law. You really need to know your state laws, how to challenge them, when to find the motion, which motion to file, how to word the motion. Like it's just like, for me, to ask somebody to do this pro se, it will be the same thing if I ask somebody to do surgery on their own. That's how I see it.
Okay.
I'm really, I'm in awe.
You can't form it on your own. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in awe. I'm so, people who are doing this pro se are my heroes. It's unbelievable what they can do on their own. I couldn't. So I would never say to somebody, oh, just go read this, and you'll be able to fight this on your own. I don't think so because I don't do it on my own. But what I do, I'm raising the voice. I'm trying to educate others. I'm trying to give hope to others that they are not alone. That's the theme song of my program. Pianist from Arizona. She was listening to my program, and she is not facing foreclosure, but she just wanted to compose a song for the program. She was so inspired by all these stories. So she composed a song titled "You Are Not Alone." And that's my message to people. Even though that you feel so alone in this, you are not alone. There are millions of us fighting the same thing.
That's true. And matter of fact, for the people that listen to this broadcast, please tune in to Second's broadcast here on Blog Talk because she has people that call in, and she's got quite a few people in the chat room, so you can network with them. We're building up our audience, but your audience is already built, so you can tune into her broadcast, and then she's got the on-demand stuff, so you can get yourself educated and aware that way. But tune into her broadcast. Well, matter of fact, when is the next broadcast, Senka?
My next broadcast is this Saturday, January 4th at 10 a.m. Eastern. And we will have a homeowner from Florida that her story has been featured in Bloomberg a few weeks ago. So she is going to be on the program at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then I will have Rob Somerton. He's from California. He's been on the program quite a few times. He is facing his trial with Bank of America on January 6th. He's coming to give us an update, and also one of my guests on Saturday will be Doug Buggs. He's facing foreclosure, and he's in litigation. He's one of pro se's who is successfully fighting this for years, but he will be on the program this time to continue talking about meditation and about how to find our inner balance, which we find out is so important for people to know. So I'm trying now to work on bringing acceptance to people, bringing them the peace that they need. So we will talk with Doug Buggs about that because he's so into meditation. He's so into how to connect with your inner peace. So that he will be in the second hour on Saturday. If you want to tune in, it will be great to ask questions on the air. And also, I always have active chat room during the program. And almost all the time, we have more than 20 people in the chat room listening to the program and then exchanging some information.
Right, I agree. Because, like I said, her chat room is, like I say, 20 or more people in there at a time. You can network, listen to the guests, call in, so take full advantage. If a person has listened to this, particularly on demand, if you have any fears, just tune into her broadcast, and that fear will start to melt away. So, Senka, look, I appreciate you coming on and helping me get started with my Blog Talk career here. And I've been taking notes during the broadcast, so I'm learning as well because it's a never-ending thing, learning.
It is never-ending thing. I'm learning something every day, and I hope to have you soon on my program as a guest. And I wish you and your listeners the happiest New Year ever. Stay positive, keep your hope, and you're not alone.
You're right. All right, thank you, and have a happy New Year, which will be here. Well, it's already in some place in the world already. All right, have a good day.
Yes.
Talk to you later.
Thank you. You too. You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Okay, and that was Senka Huskick. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. She does have she just spoke for the last hour, making people aware of what they can do if they're facing foreclosure during this foreclosure housing crisis in the United States, which can lead to homelessness, so to speak. Now, we have another guest coming up that'll give you, I guess her and her husband have a solution, I think so, on a alternative that you can take lifestyle-wise, that is dealing with tiny houses. So, matter of fact, let me see if she's on here. We'll be talking to Mark and Melanie Sorrentino. Melanie, you there?
Yes, I am.
Wait a minute. All right, Melanie. Okay, good. Welcome to the broadcast. It's my house, and well, I guess if your husband's there, hello. Now, we're going to. They're going to be speaking about mainly now. The first hour we spoke about, the mortgage foreclosure crisis, and that can lead or has led many people to homelessness. However, those are people. There's a term called on the grid. Now, this hour of the broadcast, we're going to be talking about how a person can get off the grid.
Right.
And for the people that are listening, because most people are listening, it'll be on demand. The grid is, and a few short years ago, I didn't even know I was on the grid. If you brought up the term grid, I would have been clueless. The grid is basically if you're in slavery, which I call slavery, if you got the college loan, the mortgage note, the grocery bill, the electric bill, the car notes, you're on the grid. Now, more than likely, particularly in the Western world, you're going to die on the grid. You're just never free.
Yeah.
So, and that can lead to homelessness. So what we're going to talk about during this hour of the broadcast is how to get off the grid, or at least have a relationship where if you want to go on the grid or off the grid when you want to, you can do so and be a lot more happy and a lot more free. So, Melanie, thank you and your husband for being here. Now, I'm going to start off because I became aware of you. How did I come aware? Because I'm a member of all these little tiny house things. But I came across your Facebook page, then I went to your website, and I ordered your ebook, and the videos that came along with it. Very good read, very concise, to the point. So let's start off with two questions. Explain what is the benefit. Well, put it this way. Let me set you up. You and your husband built a home that was basically mortgage-free. Am I correct?
Very correct, yeah.
Right. So tell us, the first question is, now, from your book, your writings, you, I think off the top of my head, how you guys saved up $18,000 within 24 months. So let's start with that, because you did that first in order to get the land and then and then build the tiny house. So How did you save up $18,000 in 24 months?
I think it was 24,000 in 18 months. I have the worst memory. I'm just gonna say take everything right. I say.
Yeah.
So everything I say, take with a grain of salt because my memory is not the best. How did we do that?
Yeah.
Well,
now it's in the book. I know how, but for our listeners, tell them. They don't know how.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had never saved any money in my life, and neither had my husband. My husband was like 22 at the time or something. Like, he had barely ever had a job. And so we got really passionate about having options in our life, not just feeling like we were staying like stuck on the grid, to figure out what we wanted to do, not what we had to do. So we came up with this number of how much we thought it would take to get free, to get a piece of land, to build a house, and all these other things. So we came up with a number, and it was $24,000 or something like that. And we divided out how long we thought it would take to save that amount of money. To us, that was a ton of money. It still is a ton of money. To me, that's a lot of money. So, and you know, we were working not minimum wage, but damn near minimum wage. I think he was like making $10 an hour, and I was waiting tables. So we thought, how long would it take to save up that amount of money? And so we did this, you know, made up time period in our heads, and we said, well, let's see if we can do it in 2 years. Let's see if we can do it in 24 months. And so I divided the $24,000 with the 12 months and said, well, we'd have to save this amount a month, every month if we want to get to our goal. And then it became, you know, that was the funny part. It's like, how are we going to save any money? Right now we're spending 100% of what we make. How are we going to save a penny when we just, it doesn't seem like the penny's even there to save. And so I went through every little aspect of our life and wrote down all the numbers, like how much does it cost to feed us, and then it's like, okay, well, that can be scaled back. And then it just, putting all the numbers in our life in black and white on a piece of paper, and nothing is a guessing game. It's like, well, we have car insurance in 6 months from now. Let's have all that squared away. Let's have all the numbers squared away. It's like when we looked at everything, all of a sudden you could see little spots. You know, get cheaper rent, buy less food, you know, buy food on a budget once a week, and that's it, you know, that kind of a thing. So in the end, we were able to just whittle that down, you know, whittle that time period down, and met our goal 6 months early.
Great. Okay. Now, so you, all right, for the people listening that get orderly, so particularly since the new year will be here soon, so you sat down with paper and pen or pencil, and you just wrote down what you were spending. You got that crystallized, and then what action steps you needed to take in order to start saving. Because, like you said, most people they spend 100% what they take in.
Mhm.
So you guys came to the realization, huh?
I've always done that. I've always spent 100%, you know, and I didn't see how I could not, but it became so easy. And I thought saving would be a struggle. I thought we would have a huge dip in our lifestyle. Not that we have a fancy lifestyle, but I thought it would take more. But in the end, we were living more comfortably because we had our money organized. You know what I mean? Like, we had the amount of money set aside for food. We were able to buy good quality food. It wasn't just like scrimp and buy in all areas. I don't know how to say that better.
All right. Now, so sitting down with paper and pen, thinking on paper, and seeing what your income and outgo is, that's very smart. Now, you guys have a, well, before I get into that, what was the next step that you guys took after you figured out, okay, this is what we have coming, and then you started to save? What was the next step in your plan?
While we were saving, it was this pressure of how are we going to find a piece of land. It's a really tough decision to figure out where you're going to be forever when you don't have to be anywhere in particular. And so it just took forever for us to pick out a piece of land. So we did that. We finally found one. We were digging around on landwatch.com and United Country. Those websites are really fun. There's just a ton of piece of land and property. So we found a piece and we bought it. And then it was a matter of, just kind of finishing out our time commitments, finishing out our lease, and making sure we had all of our money squared away, and getting all the information for the kind of house we wanted to build. We had this idea of building a wafati, which is like a underground. It's not really underground, but it's referred to as a semi-underground structure, kind of like a hobbit hole or something to regulate hot and cold temperature using thermal mass. So we wanted to build that. So the two things that were like the big deal is we need to figure out how we're going to get our housing situation, like how are we going to build it, like what do we do, what are the steps to build a house, and to find the piece of land to build the house on. Those were the two steps.
Now, let me fill in the gap here because we're both on a tiny house mindset. For people that will be listening to this broadcast, because we don't want to take this for granted. What Melanie and her husband decided to do was build a house and be debt-free.
Yep.
They don't want to take out a mortgage. They want to take out a credit because the people who listened to the first half of this broadcast, we were talking about, how to fight these banks who have a mortgage on your house. What Melanie and her husband Mark decided to do from the outset is do not get a mortgage, which I think is the best and practically only way to fly, because you'll be free. And number two, build it themselves. Now, of course, they're not talking about building a McMansion, because most people don't realize that, and I'll give an example of this, and then I'll get back to you, Melanie. You take the Queen of England. Her income is like $18 billion a year. And she gives most of that away to charity, but $18 billion a year. And she's got Buckingham Palace. However, her being a human being like the rest of us, most people, no matter how much money that you have, be it the Queen of England, Bill Gates, or somebody on Section 8, whatever, most of us only live in 2 rooms. So most of us basically live in homes that we're not actually living in all of the house. If you got a mortgage that's financed for 30 years with all these other things, that's how you can go broke. So they made a conscious decision to not, 2 things, build without using credit, which is very smart, which keeps them free. And then number 2, build a house that cuts out the fat. In other words, what they're actually going to live in. So there's some people call it a movement. Actually, it's the type of housing that we had 150 to 200 years ago anyway. But today we call it tiny houses. So they decided to build their own tiny house. So that's to fill in the gap. That's why they were looking for land to buy so they can build their own house. And they saved the money. So, because when you have cash, cash is king. So they accumulated the cash. They were looking for land. And then I'll put it back to you, Melanie. You found the land, and then what next?
So we found the land, and we had our head kind of wrapped around what we were going to do for a living, which is the wafati, as I was saying. And when it was time to go move on to the land, our head kind of got turned around. We had been talking with some friends about getting a bigger piece of land together. And so when we were ready to move out to our piece of land, we thought, you know what, maybe this isn't so permanent. Maybe we shouldn't invest all of our money into building, and doing a lot of labor to build a wofati, because it is a lot of work. And why don't we go out there and just kind of do something simple, and then we'll figure out what's next as far as getting land with friends. So we moved out there, and oh man, right before we moved out there, this is so backwards. Right before we moved out there, a family member was having some sort of crisis, financial crisis, and they needed money. And I was like, well, we're not going to build our, the real deal house right now, so I don't mind giving it to you. And so we gave almost all of our money to a family member. So but we had to go out to our land because we wanted to. That had been our plan. We had been working so hard to get out to our land, and I had already gotten a job out. So we went out to our land, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do, because things had changed so fast. And we were out there, and we were staying in a motel trying to figure out the plan. And I looked at our finances, and it became really clear that that if we kept staying at a motel, we would drain ourselves and we'd be trapped. We wouldn't be able to get out of the motel into a better situation. So we moved into a car. We became like homeless on our land. We moved into the car, the hottest time of the year in Arkansas, and we were living out there for maybe a month or two in the car, no electricity, nothing, just us on the land with the trees, and just became really familiar with the tiny houses, the sheds, and proceeded to move in that direction. Tiny houses through a shed just seemed like a mansion compared to living in the car, and it seemed so, in our hands. It's not something we have to. It's immediate. We could get our problem solved immediately. So tiny house became the way.
Now, when we say tiny, what was the square footage of it?
Well, because we were broke, but I had a really good job, so I was making money. We had to take steps. I had to save the money and then order the shed and then, finish it out, get electricity or whatever. So the very first one we stayed in was actually what we bought for my husband's work shed, and that was an 8x8 building. So that was 8x8, but then our actual tiny house that we lived in for pretty much a year was, after it was insulated and finished out, it was about 150 square feet on the inside.
Okay. Which is a lot of people, I guess they had to go through their machinations, whatever, but it was plenty of space. Matter of fact, give your Facebook link as well as your website if people want to find out more information on this. And then take a look at, what you guys actually lived in.
Yeah. tinyhouseandland.com, and Facebook is the same name, Facebook/Tiny House and Land. There's a ton of pictures on there. There's some YouTube videos and stuff like that. A tour of the land, a tour of our house, stuff like that.
Right, because I had ordered it and I learned quite a bit from it. So people that are listening, if you're in a mortgage crisis situation, or maybe you're not in one, but you want to get in from out of it to prevent it, now, because some of the things that you said on here, Melanie, to the average person, they might consider it extreme, but I call it a good extreme, because like living in a car, that makes a whole. It was 10 years ago, it wouldn't have made sense to me. Now it makes sense, because essentially, like you said, if you guys kept staying in that motel, you would have been trapped.
Yes.
And you have a lot of people that are trapped or heading to getting trapped because they're spending too much money. And then you moved into a structure where it cut out all the fat, so you are comfortable in your particular lifestyle. For the people that are listening to this broadcast, there's a video on YouTube called "The Story of Stuff" that I suggest checking out, because a lot of us just have too much stuff in their lives. Now, going back to you, Melanie, so you guys, now, you built the shed, or do you have somebody build it, or how did that happen?
Yeah, there was a company
it's a stepped out shed. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a company maybe a couple hours from where we were. We found them on Craigslist, and we went out to their little showcase area where they have a bunch pre-built, and you just walk around and look at them. And some of those companies that build the sheds, they sell kits, and you pay a bunch of money and you put them together yourself, which isn't the end of the world. I think that's a good start, but this one in particular, they built them and they just drop them off on your land, which was amazing. So we were there when he dropped it off. It was ready to go. It was the most exciting day of my life, seeing that thing just show up. It's the level of, that feeling of freedom. It's just crazy. I never felt it before, because I always pay rent. I always have an apartment or something, and just the house is there and it's free and clear. There's nothing else like it.
Yep, free and clear. Now, within it, because I've seen the videos and all that, explain to people that are listening to the broadcast what was inside of it, your home.
Let's see.
The basics. I know you got a bed and all that other stuff, but for people who don't know.
Yeah. So you walk into the tiny house, and pretty much the entire left side is a long countertop. That's kind of the kitchen area, so to speak. And the countertop moves. It glides back and forth to give access to 2 chest freezers. So there's the chest freezers. One of the chest freezers is converted into a fridge to be like a super efficient. It's supposed to be like $12 a year in electricity or something really minimal. So there's those 2, a long counter space, lots of shelves on top for herbs and spices and storage, and then more shelves on the bottom. And then straight ahead, there's a loft bed and stairs, and the stairs have drawers that pull out, and that's where all of our clothes had been. And a couch is under the bed, and then across, like on the right wall, is all musical instruments, a full drum kit, some guitars, a pump organ, like a little tiny pump organ. So it's like 3 rooms in one. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, for people, because for a lot of people, particularly in the Western world, because we have so much of this McMansion attitude or whatever, mindset, and that's why I have them on, you really need to take a look at the tiny lifestyle, because the more you downsize, in my opinion, the more personal freedom that you'll have. Because we all know of people that, they might make $200,000 a year, but they're hardly home. They enjoy their home, or they're still in debt. So that's why I brought you guys on this broadcast. Now, one of the things that you do, which I'm dying to do this, dumpster diving. Explain what that term is and talk about the benefits of it.
Well, I'm just going to put this in context. We sold our land to get some more land. So we're not on that original piece of land, but we were out there for a year, and we came back to the city to kind of regroup and come up with our next plan. And when we came back, I didn't want to do what I've been doing food service for like 16 years, and I am really interested in not exploring that part of my life again, because it's, you do something so much, it's like a part of your brain turns off. It's like, okay, let's turn a different part of the brain on. And so we moved back here, and we had been dumpster diving on and off, which is essentially digging through trash. And we'd been doing that for maybe 4 years, on and off, real casual, because we kept, we just had a very limited idea of how to do it, and just had a handful of places we'd go, and a lot of times we wouldn't find, sometimes we'd find like a ton of great stuff. We found like MP3 players in the package, and, just like fancy stuff that people pay a bunch of money for. And then most of the time we wouldn't find anything. So it was super discouraging. So we didn't dumpster dive a whole lot. But when we came out to back to Dallas, I had found this woman's YouTube channel, and this woman's amazing. And she dumpster dives all sorts of stuff. She's like a fancy lady who dumpster dives to supplement her husband's income. She's like a stay-at-home mom. And so she digs through trash, but she does it way different than what I was doing, and that really changed the way we did it. And so now we dumpster dive for a living, but she's a great example because she dumpster dives, she makes money like we do, but she also keeps a lot of it. So she has like this beautifully furnished home, but it's all trash, but it's beautiful. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I got some friends, I had to call them. They live in Ohio, and I grew up in an urban city, and I've lost some friends because I've changed my thinking. But I look at it, there's no such thing as trash now. It's basically you just said if you change your mindset, it basically the way I see it now, and I know you and your husband are already there at this point, but this for the benefit of the people that will be listening to this broadcast, is why go out and pay retail for furniture in your house? That's the way I look at it. Or even building materials. A lot of that, you can get a lot of good stuff that some people consider waste, because they're just not on that wavelength, and then you can, have something that's brand new. But anyway, going back to this lady, so I guess she's a mentor of yours, and she taught you basically how to do this differently then. Exactly.
And now that we're out, now that this is what we do, this is how we, feed the family, so to speak. Now that we're out, on the streets, like many days a week, digging around, or anytime we're driving, I'm always looking for trash. I see a ton of building materials. I want to build our next tiny house. I want to, instead of buying it, which is great and convenient and is a wonderful way to do it. But man, I feel really drawn to start collecting some of the building materials. I see a ton of stuff all the time.
Right. There's a guy, matter of fact, there are two of them. You might know both of them. One's guy, he's in out of Houston or near Houston. I think his name is Dan Phillips. And he considers himself an artist. But he basically builds homes out of all kinds of stuff that people cast off, even what nature left behind. And he builds homes that way. And then there's another guy, I had to look him up, but he does salvages his stuff and builds that way. He's in another part of town. What I'll do is I'll get the information and pass it along to you. But what you guys are on the right track. So now with your next project, will it be a community? You're going in with friends on this, or how do you plan on doing it?
We kind of have our hearts set on, there's a guy who runs the Survival podcast, and he was a huge influence on us, doing all the things you're talking about, being debt-free, all that. And he's kind of starting a community. It's not going to be the Survival podcast community, but him, the person, Jack, he is starting a community for, like-minded people, preppers, whatever. So he's starting one near Dallas, and his plan is so awesome. It's so good. We just want to be a part of that. Now, it's not solid yet, and life has a million changes always, apparently. So, nothing is set in stone, but that's what we have our heart set on. That would be ideal. And if not that, we have a ton of friends that always say they want to get land, and some of them actually seem pretty serious about it.
Now, on land acquisition, because and it's interesting you brought up Dallas, but it can be any major metropolitan area. For people that this is piquing their interest, from my knowledge and experience, you really can't. It's best to set these things up. I mean, put it this way: a city like Dallas, or Houston, or San Antonio, or Chicago, L.A., Miami, what have you. You really can't do this inside the city limits proper because it's too much government regulation.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this needs to be done, I guess, in a semi-rural or rural environment.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. It's he's talking about, maybe an hour and a half outside, so that way people can commute if they need to. But it's, the goal is to get a piece of land that has the least amount of government. Period. That's like the top goal. Right.
Yeah, you're right about that, because when I started to get into sustainability, I was looking at in the city, and then I became aware of, hold on, wait a minute, you can't do all this stuff here. And then I noticed that many people who live in what might be called extreme homes, which I don't think are extreme now, they were living in semi-rural or rural environments, which basically they can do what they want to do, build homes or what have you. All right, so you guys have you got that in the works right now. So for, let's say, a person who is starting out and they want to make a transition from the grid to going off grid, because you brought up a very interesting point. You and your husband now, for a living, dumpster dive. Matter of fact, now, are you going to write a book on that, ebook on that?
I did. I wrote an ebook. It's on a whole other website. We have like 3 or 4 websites. Yes, I have one, and it's pretty short. I think it's like 11 pages or something. It's super straightforward, because dumpster diving is not a mystery. It's more experiential. Once you do it, you realize it's simple and
right.
It's accessible.
Well, those are the best books. Cut out all of the fluff and get to the point. All right, give all your websites, and then tell us what type of information the person will get off of each site.
Yeah. If you wanted to check out the ebook, it's on cakeordeathradio.com, and there's a tab that says Dumpster Diving Ebook, I believe.
All right.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, repeat that website again.
Cake or Death Radio.
All right, got it. And .com, and all right, so that's for people who are interested in dumpster diving. I guess I need to order that one myself. I know I have the books. What do you call it? The website bookmark. What's now for tiny house, the land acquisition, how to save up to $24,000, and how you guys acquired your first tiny house. All that information. What website should they go to for that?
tinyhouseandland.com.
Okay. And people that are, she has it very convenient. You pay through the website and you get the information, immediately. So I highly recommend it. It's simple and to the point, straightforward. And any other websites, Melanie?
Let's see. We have a photography website, which is, just photography, nothing about freedom, just art, I guess.
Okay. Now, in your Facebook, to contact you through Facebook, what's that link?
Yeah, that would be Tiny House on Land on Facebook. I'm on there, so definitely any questions. I like hearing them all. Everybody is asking the same questions. It's, it tends to be, how can I do what I want to do without government issues, without permits? How do I do this? That's the main questions, I guess.
Right. Now, while I got you on the air, because we've been basically doing the Facebook IM thing. I've got, which I'll be launching this year, what I call Camp It's My House, which is essentially we get out offline in the real world and we put together actual hands-on workshops on it could be a tiny house build, how to basically build a tiny house where we're actually building one instead of being in a hotel. Nice. And then just off the top of my head, if you can put together a workshop or I don't know what you call a workshop, that's what I'm working with right now. But where you can teach people how to dumpster dive. If you're open to that, I'll rally up the troops and come to where you are. Because I know I got some people in Texas anyway. That's where I went to college. So would you be open to that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I never thought about it the way you put it. But I know some other people that do it too. That's what they do for a living. Some call it foraging, some call it scalping, whatever. But and this is something that is more practical than they teach at Harvard or Yale or any Ivy League school. And I'm saying it because I'm a college grad. And I've learned that, in my opinion, I think the educational system, particularly in Western countries, is over 200 years behind. Because essentially the way you and your husband are living, as well as other people on the globe, this is the way we were living 200 years ago, or 250 years ago, where we weren't in debt, there was no bankruptcy court. You had a higher level of freedom because, I'm looking at it now in 2013 going on 2014. Most people who are on the grid believing that, because, if you bought the bill of goods, which I was sold the bill of goods, go to school, go to college, get a good job, go get it, I'm just speaking for me, miseducated. So that's why I'm really into, what we're talking about here. Because it makes so much sense, So,
yeah.
But I'll get back to you more on the organizing that, because that's something because I got a friend of mine that lives out in California. Her and her sister, they live out in the Bay Area, which is super expensive. So from time to time, if they've needed to get their rent money together, and we're talking about $900 a month. And they don't live together, so we're talking about $1,800 between the two of them. That's what they did. They dumpster dived.
Nice.
And now you got Craigslist and all this other stuff too. So.
Yep.
So any other things before? Because we got a few more minutes left. Matter of fact, let's stay on this dumpster diving thing.
Yeah.
Let's say a person has not done it before. What can a person do, I guess, to mentally get past the idea of looking through trash? Or what people conceive as trash?
Yeah, that's okay. The way it worked out for me was I wanted to do it for a long time, because I had heard of it through alternative communities, and I looked it up on YouTube maybe 8 years ago, and I saw these videos of kids opening dumpsters and pulling out all this food, and I was like, oh, I've got to do that. But there was a part of my brain that just, it was the unknown, and I just couldn't I couldn't see myself doing it. I wanted to do it, but I couldn't imagine how I would do it. So every dumpster did not look like an opportunity, and I never thought to get up and go look. And I just felt like there was something, a middle step that I needed that I didn't know what it was. So it was put on the back burner for maybe 4 years, and then a good friend of mine said, "Hey, you want to go check out this dumpster at the farmer's market? I'm sure they throw a ton of stuff away. It's a huge farmer's market in Dallas." He said, "You want to go check it out after they close?" So I said, "Hell yeah." So we went out there, and that was our very first time dumpster diving, and we didn't even get in the dumpster. We didn't really look. It really wasn't the best place, but just saying yes, just saying yes, I want to do this is the first step, and then saying I'm going to find a dumpster to look in is the very next step. It doesn't, any dumpster will do, and the more dumpsters you look in, this is what I'm saying about it being experiential. It's like in your brain you can think, man, there's so many mental barriers. This could be dirty. This could be smelly. This could be gross. I could get in trouble. You think all these things in your head. And I do, too. I get nervous still dumpster diving, even though I love it and it's a complete thrill and a reward. So there's all these mental barriers. But the second you do it, it just changes. There's a shift in your brain, and the moment you find something, at least for me, the minute I find something, that nervousness goes away, and just something changes. It's all of a sudden not something dirty, because you see that a lot of dumpsters are not dirty, surprisingly, and there's a lot of good stuff. And when you start pulling, fancy high dollar. I pulled a Prada bag out of the trash with a tag on it for $1,250. I'd never seen a purse that expensive. I just didn't know better, and that really was instrumental to, it's walking up to a trash can to me is not opening up something dirty. It's like walking into a store. Something's going to be in there that's going to be really nice, and it shouldn't be in the trash. And somebody wants it. Somebody that's not me wants to pay for it, and they'll pay me for it because I took the time to find it.
Now, you hit on something major. I'm going to call it you're gold mining for paychecks. Now, for instance, because one of the things I like when I see your post on Facebook, and people that are listening to this broadcast, you really need to tune in to Mark and Melanie, because on Facebook, when it pops up, these are paychecks. I mean, you just mentioned something where a person could actually probably make maybe $1,200, or let's say if they sold it for $200 or $300. I mean, why slave on 40 hours a week when you can do what you did and run across what you run across, because you've run across that and a whole lot of other things. So I mean, like say now you guys do it for a living.
Yes.
So that's one of the fascinating things about it. So now I guess some days are good and some days there's nothing out there much. Is that the experience with it?
It definitely seems like that. It'll seem that we had consistently been finding a ton of stuff, and then it'll kind of slow down a little bit, and then we'll find like one big score instead of a whole bunch of little things. And then there's a lot of fluctuation for sure, yeah.
Let me ask you this. I know of a guy, matter of fact, I had to call him back. I haven't spoken to him in a year. He lives in Toronto. He's got a wife and family and all that. He says everything that you need to find is within a 1 square mile radius of where you live. What's your experience with that?
I've been thinking about that.
Because he has a pickup truck. So he's not going into a 9 to 5. He's got the mindset that you and your husband have. So you agree with that?
I've been thinking about that. We got really pumped to go dig through trash after Christmas because we're on a really great dumpster diving Facebook page, which you have to be a part of. I post most of my stuff there. Everybody There's newbies and experienced people. So this dumpster diving page, everybody's talking up, digging through trash after Christmas. So we drove all over. Dallas is huge, all over the whole Metroplex. And it was a total waste of gas. I mean, we found stuff, but it wasn't exceptional. It wasn't what I had imagined. So that whole time we were driving all over Dallas and outside of Dallas, I kept thinking about what you just said, about things being within a very short radius of where you live, like what you need, you're going to be provided for. And, if you're willing to open your mind and look at how things are provided maybe differently, you'll see that it's accessible. So I've been thinking about that statement, and I've really been taking that to heart lately.
Mm-hmm. It's a matter of fact, I'll call these people up today. There's some people I know out of Ohio. The wife, I'll send their link to you after this broadcast. But her nickname, her name is Ann Warmke. Her nickname is what do they call her? The dumpster diving diva, or the diva dumpster diving, something like that. I know of, and you two can compare notes, but I know she went to an auction once. She bought a barn for $200 at the auction, and then she just broke the barn down in the component parts, whatever, and I mean, just the money just multiplied from that. But they live in what some people might call, the husband Jay built the house out of trash. It's an earth ship, which you probably have heard of that concept. But basically what they did was they just took stuff, used tires or whatever, and built a home, which is, I think, partially underground, out of stuff that people, just cast it, off. So there'll be some interesting people you might want to talk to and whatnot. So, yeah, all right. Well, you guys are doing it. I mean, you guys are living the off-the-grid lifestyle. And so congratulations on that. And for the people that are listening to this, will be listening to this broadcast on demand, once again, they can come to your, your Facebook site and get information on that, on everything, I guess. So could you repeat that again? And I think I have it on this. This will be listed on this broadcast as well, because I think I listed it already, but you can give it again.
Sure. So our Facebook page is Tiny House and Land, and our website is the same name, tinyhouseandland.com. And our dumpster diving information it's on cakeordeathradio.com. And there's a really good group on Facebook called Dumpster Divers Trash Pickers United States. And everybody on there is really cool.
Dumpster, what now, divers?
Dumpster Divers and Trash Pickers United States. And people just post pictures and talk about their experiences, and people ask questions, and people post YouTube videos they find or make, and there's it's really inspiring. It's really encouraging, very motivating.
Okay, I'm trying to find it now while I'm on Facebook.
I sent you.
Send me the link.
I think it's a closed group, and I think I've tried to send links before, and it's a problem. But I just added you to the group, so you're just pending approval. So she'll approve you, and you'll be a part of the group, and then you can invite people as well. And that's the only way we'll get this going. And it's a fun group, man. People are awesome.
Great. All right. I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for giving me the hookup on that. Because what I want to do is, through these podcasts, is organize a community that'll basically do stuff offline. And because, like I say, for me, it's a way to get off get off the grid, or if a person wants to go on the grid, they can, if they want to go bowling, see a movie or a concert or whatever, go to a restaurant, you can do that. But you're not enslaved to what we were talking about the first hour of the broadcast, which was people. They just don't know any other way. Okay, now we've got about 9 more minutes left in this broadcast. So anything that you want to put out there to promote? You working on your I Love Trash T-shirts yet?
I am, yeah. I actually have them set up. I just need to kind of I'm looking at the website right now, actually. I just need to log in and finish it out, but they're ready to go. It's a really old picture of me with my arm in a trash can pulling out some bread.
Okay. All right. It's there's a TV show. I don't know. You could have seen it. They got YouTube videos on this. One of the things that's fascinating to me about this whole dumpster diving thing, a TV show called Extreme Cheapskates. Now, I think that's a real negative term. People who don't know people that are like really not aware. But this one lady, Asian chick, she in New York City. She's got a job as a CPA or something like that. And the amount of money that she's able to save, she's able to save like 100% of her paycheck.
Yeah. So
she was able to accumulate like $100,000 within a year or so. Because she's basically doing what you and your husband do. So, and when you're able to live that lifestyle, I call it freedom. And they're not teaching this at Harvard, Yale, or anything like that. If that's where you're at mindset-wise, like say, I'm a college grad, and I found out that I felt I was miseducated, with a graduate degree and all that. So that's why I love meeting people like you and your husband, because essentially, if you want to get free, getting that 30-year mortgage is not the way to fly. So, that's my take on it. So people that are listening to this broadcast, go to their websites, and I guess the next broadcast we might have with you will be concentrating more. I would call it like throwaway Thursdays, because in my mind now, there's really no such thing as trash. Trash is just when you don't know how to do something with it.
Yeah.
Because I took a course on this, just a week thing, and we built like little cabins out of the foundation was made out of tires that were what people thought were no of further use, and we built an addition onto a barn using pallets. And then if people go on YouTube, you can see people who have built structures using pallets, which are basically free. So it's a definite lifestyle that, in my opinion, should be embraced by more people. It is a definite solution to experiencing a mortgage meltdown. Now, is your husband around today?
Yeah, but he's super shy.
Okay. Now, I know in a video, the book that you guys put out, he built, he's handy with he's a carpenter or something.
Yeah, he does woodwork. He hasn't built like cabinets or anything, but yes, he does woodwork.
Yeah, because on the video, what did he build in the video? I can't remember that.
He did the entire inside of the house. So he, did the drywall and sheetrock and king and all that. So as far as woodwork goes, he built the loft for the, which is the bed. And he built the stairs to go up the bed, and he put together the countertop and the shelves. So he did everything on the inside.
Great. All right. Well, two handy skills. Matter of fact, I tell people almost on a weekly basis, I said when it comes to education, and this is why I enjoy, your post and all that, and the stuff that you guys put up, because, in my opinion, you're giving real education. Because I've discovered that there are two distinctions when it comes to education. There's the learning part, which basically, when you do something, you're actually learning it, through trial, error, whatever. And there's the academic part, which a lot of people, particularly in the Western world, we think we're learning. No, when you're in an academic setting, which is a classroom, and you have a textbook, you're studying. Two examples. When we learn how to ride a bike, we actually got on it with the training wheels or whatever. We fell down, got up, fell down, got up. We learn how to ride a bike. If you take the academic approach to riding the bike, you get the textbook, riding the bike 101, the mechanics of bike riding, the physics of bike. You can do that for years, which most people do. However, if it comes time to get on the bike, you don't know any more than a person who's 5 or 6 years old. So that was one of the things that I had to come to part with. That's how you, if you want to learn something, actually go out and do it. And that's how we learn how to walk. That's how we learn how to learn a language. Because when I was, I'm picking up like 3 languages now. I spent a few years basically the academic way, writing, reading. But we all learn languages essentially. The quickest way to learn is just go out and make mistakes. And then they're like kids, start off with one word and just baby steps and then move the way out. So it's the same way with what we've been talking about here, particularly the dumpster diving part, is because I know when I did some volunteer work at the the Green Fest, there was some things that I saw that I just couldn't wrap my head around, which was involved the trash part of it. But now I've embraced it. So, I want to get more into it because, and now after talking to you during this interview, this opened my mind. You know what? You can make a living off this. So, but I need to learn how to do it, and I'm not going to read it in a book. I mean, I can get your publication, which I will. And what I like about your publications, like I said, there's no fat. Okay, read it now. Okay, apply this information so you can benefit for it. So I'm glad we're having this chat on the last day of the year because on Friday's show, what I'm going to do is basically we're going to do a planning session on putting this information to the ground. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, Melanie, for being a guest on our show today. And I found out from my producer we can do it through Skype. I just didn't know how to do it through Skype. So when we do it again, we can do it through Skype. And I would have picked it up by then. And, whenever you're ready for me for your thing. Because I've got Skype on my computer and everything, so I'll be ready for that.
Awesome.
Okay, that's the cue. Anyway, I'm going to end it up. Thank you again, and we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of It's My House. Have a good day.